Okay, cool. Brought to you by Vouris. That's my company here. We are a B2B sales kind of coaching and consulting company. We work with B2B SaaS and service companies. We help them build a repeatable sales process. Whether you're really early stage, you're just trying to figure out your sales motion, or you're more sophisticated, you have a lot of sales teams. We've worked across all of them. If you're interested to learn more about that, you can go to our website. You'll see it there. I'll also talk to you a little bit more about what we do right before Q&A. Give me 2-minute spiel then. Okay, cool. So here's my promise. By the end of this, you'll learn how to build a playbook that systematizes your sales process so you can ramp reps faster, have more consistent performance, and scale predictably. That's what I'm giving you here. Okay. And I see some of our yeses coming through to my corny question. I'm glad. I love people who participate. And that's really good. I would have said yes if I was in the audience. I would have. Okay, cool. Who am I? Real quick run through of my background. My name is Kyle. I think I said this last time too. We need to change this picture. I've lost 95 pounds. Hopefully you can kind of tell that based on this photograph here. We need to update this. And I forgot last time, but we need to update these. Okay, just a quick run through of my background. Sorry for the jump scare there, but I've worked with over 80 software and service companies, really around building a repeatable sales process. I take a very data-driven approach when it comes to building sales org. I'm a pretty high energy guy. You probably get some of the sales vibes from me. The vast majority of my work is around how we use data to build a repeatable sales process. That's ultimately my objective is analyzing data. We make sure we're tracking the right things, let that data guide decisions that then we roll out with the team to help improve performance. It sounds like pretty obvious, but very few people do it. And there's not a lot of sales leaders that can balance both this analytical operations mind with some of the people management stuff. And because of that, I have a lot of tools and resources to help you run better sales organizations. The vast majority of people I work with are CEOs, founders who are trying to build this sales organization. In some cases, they've hired VPs, didn't work out, or they want to hire a VP one day and they're trying to get their process together. So I take this very data-driven approach that is pretty unique. Okay, I've written 3 Amazon best-selling books. One of them is on cold outreach called Cold to Committed. That's how you cold call, cold email, things like that. The other is on building out sales teams called the Sales Development Framework. And then the third and most recent is called 16 Steps to Repeatable Sales. That's more of a workbook format, really easy to follow. Also, a really quick, easy read that just gives you everything you need to build a repeatable sales process. It's awesome. And then finally, I've helped our clients sell over 100 million in software and services, over 280 million in money raised across the clients that we work with that are venture backed, which is about 30% of them at this point. Most of our clients are bootstrapped. And I've personally trained over 1,000 salespeople, probably multiple thousands, honestly, at this point. I've coached hundreds of founders. This is all I do. I started as an SDR. Cold calling. I've been in selling roles. I've run teams. I've been in board meetings. I've run companies that are more bootstrapped. We didn't have board meetings, which was great. So I've been around the block when it comes to the sales organization. And everything I'm going to be sharing with you is really time tested from the field work. And we still do this today. I have a team of people who work with all of our clients, and all we do is we build out sales organizations. Fedi on my team, Michael Fedinishin, he used to run North American sales strategy at Zoom. Ashlyn used to run global sales enablement at better.com. Declan, I've been working with Declan for 7 years. He ran sales operations at the company that I ran inside sales at. So we have a broad kind of breadth and depth of experience, and we do this now. Okay. This is not stuff that worked last year. This is all stuff that's very, very current. All right, cool. Enough about me and more about the problem that we're here to solve today. Most sales orgs allow the reps they hire to determine if they're successful instead of the process they developed. I'm going to read this one more time. Most sales orgs allow the reps they hire to determine if they're successful instead of the process they've developed. I'd like you to type into the chat how many sales reps you have. And if you don't have any, but you're hiring, type in hiring. And if you don't have any, it's just you, just say just me. I'm curious to get an idea of who's here in the room. The thing that I really want to impress upon you here is the importance of the process. Anybody who has sales reps can tell you. So Angela commented she has 5. If you have 5 sales reps, most likely you have some that do really well and some that don't. And now, Angela, I don't know you specifically, so I'm just going to broaden this out, but it's not uncommon for the 2 that are doing something that are hitting their number. Both of them are doing something completely different than each of them, as well as the other 3 who aren't performing. That is very common. And because of that, what ends up happening is you have this weird dynamic where the company is very reliant on a few star players, and they don't have a framework or a repeatable way to have confidence that when they hire new sales reps, they can be successful. Something for you to think about here. This is how I think about it, at least. I would like to build a sales process that's so well structured that you can hire the average salesperson. They can follow the process, and I'm confident that they will get close to or at least hit their number. And then I try not to hire average salespeople. Right? I don't want average salespeople, but I want the process to be so good that I could. Right? That's the lens I see this through. And I strongly encourage you to adopt that lens as well. And I'm looking at the chat here. 5 sales reps, 60. Kimberly, so you probably have a lot of experience in this. And Kyle, 7. Awesome. Love it. For those of you who have less than that, there's people in this room right now that have a ton of experience running these sales orgs, right? And you should also be impressed that they're here still learning and still trying to develop and get better. This is not a, hey, I have one thing that works and always works, I'm just going to repeat it. This is constant. Running a sales organization, it's an organism. It changes, and you need to stay on top of what's working, what's not. Okay, cool. Let me walk through the sales playbook. So the bulk of what we're going to be doing here today, 11, make a wish. The bulk of what we're going to be doing today is going to be walking through the template that we use for a sales playbook. This template includes a lot of extra materials. Those materials are things that you might already have and have done your way, or they might be things that you don't have, and you can use the materials that we have and adapt them for you. So calculators, templates, things like that. So this is one resource that has a whole bunch of other resources that I'll give you, but that's what you're going to see hyperlinked here. Okay, here's the template. Start off with, hey, this is our, by the way, you're looking at our sales playbook slide is what that is. And then here's how we have it structured. Okay, so this is the first part. I'll go into it. And actually, let me change this to where I'm over here so you guys can see that. Okay, cool. So you can see we have an about us section, the who we are, what we do, who we help, and why we win. And then the second part of the sales playbook is your roadmap to success. What your sales process looks like, what our buy again strategy is, tools to support the reps, and then details around the performance culture. I like to build out these playbooks, especially your roadmap to success part. I like to build these out in a way where the reps will come back and use this material again. That's how I like to build this out. I want them coming back and using it. And I also want it being updated as we find new things work. Again, the ultimate objective is to have laid out here a process that you're confident about, messaging, everything that you need. Okay, so here's the about us section. We first start with who we are. These are company values. Whatever your company values are, you put them here. There's a lot of different ways of having company values. You should have some company values. You should also actually talk about them and live by them. Also, this is totally a sidebar. I don't know if anyone cares about this, but I do this with my family too. So I'd be actually curious, anybody with kids, do you have family values that you talk to them about? So like every night I have 3 kids, by the way. Every night before bed, I ask my kids, well, I asked 2 of them, the other one's 1.5. She just looks at me like this, but the 2 that speak English, I ask them, I say, what family value did you demonstrate today? And they give me one of the 5, and I ask them to tell me about when they demonstrated that. Now, one of our family values is playfulness, and that typically ends up being the one that they pick. And sometimes I force them to pick another one because I'm just so burnt out of hearing the same playfulness one. I'm like, oh, how did you show playfulness? They're like, I played today. I'm like, all right, geez. My daughter's 7, my son's 5, and my youngest 1.5. My youngest daughter's 1.5. So anyway, just kind of a fun thing. I don't know why I went on that tangent, but there you go. Okay, cool. The next thing is the who we are, the org chart. And I do recommend maintaining an org chart. If you're really small, this is not going to change very often. If you're larger, this might change a bit. It's just helpful for the reps to know who they may need to interface with for different things that come up. The sales engineers, if you have that kind of role, if you have sales enablement people, who those are, the marketing person, just so they understand who does what. It's really helpful. And what's nice is this is a good forcing function to keep that up to date. Once you get to a certain size, it gets kind of complicated. Maybe you don't even put it in the sales playbook anymore, but just something to think about. I like having a little welcome note from the CEO, just write out a little thing saying, hey, welcome to the thing. welcome to our company. Okay, company mission goes here. This is what we do. I gave a tiny little framework. Like if you don't have a company mission, you can just copy this and try to adjust it a little bit. Part of this is having a professional sales organization. So you want these things in there. You want people who join your sales organization to go, oh, wow, this company really has their stuff together. By the way, this is a side note. Sales reps aren't going to complain that they're onboarding shitty when they're being onboarded. They're going to go, oh, no, it's fine. I like being thrown in the deep end or whatever. They're going to be more optimistic about it because they have these rose-colored glasses or excited about the opportunity, et cetera. What happens is they will hit a tough time, as all salespeople do. And when they hit that tough time, and it could be company related, it could be them related, they tend to look back at their experience at the organization and say, was there any evidence that this company isn't the right company for me? Oh yeah, my onboarding was terrible. And then they go, this company was bad from the start. So I try to make sure that we are very professional. We have our things together when we bring on sales reps. Okay, the different products that you sell, if it's one, it's just one, but break down the product offerings that you have, maybe the different types of solutions you sell. If there's different packages, those. The next thing here is the pricing of those packages, what it includes, what the different prices are. This might be very complicated. So for example, I ran a sales organization that sold supply chain software. We had a huge, incredibly complicated suite of solution, everything from finance to tracking a truck on the road, right? It was just insane. So this was a very robust section of our sales playbook. All right, next we have the who we help section of this playbook. So the first is the ideal customer profile and the market map. I have a template that we use. It's called market mapping. This is one of those exercises that we do with the vast majority of our customers, unless they have a really clear understanding of their target market. And even then, sometimes they think they have a really clear understanding, but they need a clearer one. It's critical that you get your salespeople to a place to where they feel like they understand the market that they sell to. They speak the language of the people that they sell to. It's both the industry verticals and the actual buyers within those industries. And one of the things I say, and for those repeats, you probably heard this before, one of the things I like to say is that I want my sales rep to be able to go to a local meetup group, have conversations with their buyers at this local meetup group that's just for them, and not one person know that they're a sales rep, to just think they're part of that industry. That's the level of being able to speak the language of the buyer that I'm looking for. Okay. And again, that's a template you can use to help you map out your verticals and your buyer personas. Okay, who we help. So this is the case studies, testimonials, and examples. I would love to see in the chat, type in yes if you have case studies, no if you don't have case studies. And what I mean by case studies is like you have the name of the client. It tells a story about how you've helped them. It might be a video, it might be an article. I'm just curious, yes or no, how many people in the chat, if you could participate, that'd be really helpful. These are critical. These are critical for a couple of reasons. Proof is a big driver of decisions. So it's important to provide that proof to people who are considering purchasing your solution. The other reason it's important is it shows your sales reps, hey, people like what we do, which is like, sounds simple, but it's motivating for salespeople to see, oh, wow, look at all the value that we got here. So check this out here. Camilla, yes. Kimberly, ugh, some, but without specific deliverables and business impact. Yeah, that's a great example. So Kimberly, like in your mind, I'm sure you're thinking like, gosh, I actually don't know your role, but like maybe the marketing team should spend more time on case studies, especially like one of the things I like about case studies, not to call out Kim here, but is as your reps talk to more people, they start talking to people that have similarities to people you've helped before in the past. And you can send targeted case studies of how you've helped other people just like them, especially if you service multiple verticals. But thanks for sharing that, Kim. And then yes, for Kyle too. Okay, great. Next here, we have why we win. Okay, this is really, really important. The first thing we have here are differentiators and what we call a value map. Value map is very different than your kind of traditional value propositions. It's listing out all of the ways that you provide value, rank ordering them in how much value that they provide from the perspective of the customer. It's a whole exercise that we do. I'm giving you access to that exercise, the value mapping exercise. You put your differentiation here too against the competition. This is super, super important. If you're not differentiating yourself to your sales reps, but also to the customer that you talk to, you're missing a big opportunity. This is really the difference maker between if someone buys your solution or not. Let me give you a real example here. And this was, I don't know how different these solutions are now. So, and this was probably 7 years ago. So I imagine, I mean, they're both more robust solutions today, but I imagine they've kind of similar. They have very similar functionality. But Outreach and Sales Loft, they always went head to head. It's very common for you to evaluate both. And I was running some sales team. We were considering Outreach, Sales Loft, and Groove at the time. I don't know if Groove's even still around, actually. If somebody knows, is Groove still around doing this kind of stuff? I haven't used them in forever. But anyway, so those are the three big ones we were looking at. But specifically, Outreach and Sales Loft were the two we narrowed it down to. And Sales Loft had this feature. I forget what it's called now. It was a partner that they worked with called Crystal Knows. I remember Crystal Knows. And it was like giving you like a disc analysis of a prospect based on like their LinkedIn page or something. And again, kind of the idea was it was going to help you be able to better sell to that person because you understand that their disc profile. And man, the way they would hammer this differentiator was hilarious to me because it's not that useful. I'd used it at another organization before. So I knew like we don't really use this stuff all that much. But they like really, really hammered how important this was. And the reason why they did that is because it was one of the only differentiators they had against Outreach. And Outreach had their own little thing that they tried to hammer, right? So this is like something to think about here. When you're in a sales environment that's competitive, you really got to be disciplined about identifying your differentiators and speaking about them and also selling why they're important, right? Like they might not be perceived as important until you tell the prospect how important it is and what impact it has, right? So it's something to think about, and I like to have those here. All right, now we talk about your roadmap to success. Okay. And again, I will give you this template at the end. Actually, I'm giving everybody here an assignment. Remind me to give you this template. I have forgotten before. It's just me. I don't have a little person here who's helping. So it's just me. I forget things. I'm very flawed. So please remind me at the end of this during Q&A. Okay, cool. So first is the sales process. Bare minimum, we need step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for inbound and outbound leads, from becoming a lead to becoming a customer and beyond, ideally, like if you do expansion, especially that kind of thing. I like having at least a step-by-step process. There's obviously way nicer ways to do this, but at least, please, at least have the step-by-step inbound, outbound process. Okay. If you only have inbound, only inbound. If you have events, do an events version, like whatever your sales process looks like from beginning to them becoming a customer, please put that in there. Make it very, very clear for everyone. This goes for SDRs and AEs who are using a playbook. Okay. The next thing here is our sales process. So I have this CRM setup guide that goes through like the different lead statuses I like to have, the different deal stages I like to have, the different close lost reasons. Actually, let me ask here, everybody, please type in the chat. If you haven't participated yet, here's your opportunity. This is a big moment for you. You could dust off the keyboard. You could participate. It'll be incredible. It might, you know what? It might actually change the entire trajectory of your life. Here's the question. Do you track close lost reasons? And what I mean by that is drop down, pick a close lost reason, not like they type in, oh, they were, they hated me, so they didn't buy, but they actually select close lost reasons. And then you can see a pie chart of all the distribution of close lost reasons. Type in yes or no if you're tracking close lost reason. I'd be very, very curious to see how many people are, and be honest, unless you're really embarrassed and then lie to me. But be honest. So cool. Yes, Dan is. I would imagine a lot of people who hop on this stuff are, but I'm curious to see how many. It's really important to have this kind of data, and you might not always use it, but when you need it, you need it. And this is something I've talked about when it comes to operations and why the CRM setup guide is so useful. Is when you have a problem with your sales org that you're struggling to solve, the data is what guides you to solve the problem. And if you're not tracking things properly, you need to correct how you're tracking it. And then you have to wait 30, 60, 90 days to get the data to be able to fix the thing. So like completely derails you and like delays everything. So it's really, really useful to track these things right from the beginning. All right, look at this. Everybody's saying yes. Look how beautiful this is. Okay, cool. I don't need to go on a soapbox about close loss reasons, but there's a lot of little things in there. Call outcomes need to be tracked, things like that. But okay, cool. Next, and again, I have the CRM setup guide. It just has a list of all of the different things that I like in the CRM and then some of the automations that I like too. Okay. our sales process, sales stages. So I have a couple of different things here that you should be including if you have and building out if you don't. What's your qualification methodology? I like BANT. I know like BANT gets a bad rap sometimes. I find all of the other ones are just like more complicated versions of BANT, or they're more nuanced version of BANT. Doesn't mean they're bad. Some companies we like to use MEDPIC with. Sometimes we use BANT, but BANT's a good one, especially if you're not super dialed in on a qualification methodology. It's simple. There's a discovery guide. So this is how you run discovery calls. You should have a discovery guide in place, some of the questions that you like to ask, that kind of thing. Demo guide. How do you run a demo? I have a links to templates for all of this, so you can fill it out if you don't have it. And then the CRM setup guide. That's really where you have all of the different stages. So those are just some things that you're going to include here. I already talked about the CRM setup guide. The demo guide is basically a demo script. I don't script word for words entire demos, just so you know. What I do is I give them some scripting on parts that it's really important to have scripts, and then also a lot of flexibility to ask their own questions. You'll see it all there. Okay. The next thing is our sales messaging, and I recommend having this for inbound or outbound, all of the different channels that you have, and build your own messaging library. You can do this as a sequence. Quick asterisk here if you're just building out your sales organization. Actually, type in yes in the chat if you're just starting to really like build out your sales motion. Maybe you hired one rep or you're thinking about hiring a rep. I'm just curious how many of you fall into that category. And I'm asking this because if you are in that stage and it's a bit earlier for you and you're still figuring out what your sales process should be, I wouldn't try to sequence multiple different touch points where it's like, oh, I'm going to call and I'm going to weave in email. I'm going to weave in LinkedIn messages. It's a lot. So instead, what I recommend doing is pick one channel, hammer that channel hard, and then get some traction, and then add a second channel, do that channel separately, and then you weave them in later, right? A lot of people try to build like these crazy complicated sequences, which are like silly to do early when you have no data on like, do they even answer the phone? Do they not answer the phone? Do they like email, LinkedIn, whatever it might be? So just something here. And it looks like a couple of people said yes, that they are hiring and building their first team. Okay, cool. You're hiring your first SDR. Awesome. Really, really exciting. Okay, cool. Next, we have our buy again strategy. So this is simply account management, like we do onboarding, we do these different health checks, we have a road to renewal, or we do auto renewal, and we just give the sales reps some idea of what happens after they close a deal, whether they're responsible for it or not. If they're responsible for it, obviously this is even more important, but if they're not responsible for it, they should still have some sense of what that looks like, and also when they might be useful in that sales process, or when that ends, like maybe they churn, and how long we wait until we try and re-engage them. Which, side note, I was actually just talking to a founder about this today. Two areas that yesterday, two areas that I really like to look at when it comes to how can we beef up our pipeline in the short term. Actually, side note, and this is a sensitive question, but if you can answer it, that'd be awesome. And actually, this isn't that sensitive of a question. Right now, for your organization, compared to historically, are you finding sales slower today, or the same, or faster? Type in slower, same, faster. That would be really helpful. I'm trying to get my finger on the pulse of that. For a lot of people, it seems to be slower, but I'm curious what your experience has been. Okay, why did I bring that up? Yes, because the two things that I do if I'm trying to like really beef up the sales pipeline is I go to lost opportunities. So people we've done demos before in the past that didn't close, I revisit all of those. And then past customers. So people who used to use our solution but no longer do. Those are two that I really like. Okay, I actually love one of the answers. So it's same for Doug. And then Josie has a really, really good one here. Same, but it's a longer process. That's another thing that I'm seeing where it's like, hey, we're like, our win rates are the same, but our sales cycle went from, 42 days, and now it's like 68 days, right? Okay, and then we have slower here from Armando. Okay, cool. I'm glad. Right here, same thing with Kimberly too. Same, but longer process, more scrutiny. I know this is what we're seeing across the board too, by the way. So you're not alone there. This is the nature of the world we're in currently. Okay, tools to support you. Back to the sales playbook. These are just all the tools that you're using. I like simple tech stacks. I'm going to be very clear about that. I'm like a pretty tech forward person. I probably have some of the most advanced AI workflows you have ever seen. So I'm very deep into using technology as part of the sales process, but I like a light tech stack because the more tools we give the sales reps, the more complicated their workflows become and the less productive they typically become. It's like every sales tool is like, oh, look at all the ROI you're going to get if we increase your close rate by X%, blah, blah, blah. But then it just like takes the reps so long to use it, or it's just all not that useful. So they don't prioritize using it, et cetera. There's a whole bunch of challenges. So I like lean tech stacks, but this is where you list what the tech stack is that they're going to be using. Okay. Again, we're going to be moving to Q&A pretty soon here. I'm getting near the end of this whole thing. So if you have questions, type them in. I saw one, I think, so far. Please type them in, because at the end, when I go through Q&A, I scroll to the top and I just go through all of the questions, and I don't like a big delay. But okay, onboarding guides and resources. So this is where you put your onboarding guides. If you don't have one, SDR AE onboarding guide templates I have, and checklists for each of them. You can have this too. And I will be sending the template here for you. So you'll have the template of the sales playbook as well as the links to all of these things in it. Please don't let me forget to send it. I shouldn't, but just I say that a lot because I have before. Okay, our performance culture. This is one I don't see in a lot of sales playbooks, so I like to stress this a lot, is I'm super clear. Here are the metrics that I'm holding you accountable towards. Metric. Let me tell you about something. These are the 3 poisons for sales teams. I see these time and time again. The first are the individual reps on the team don't know what they have to do to be successful. See subject A, the metrics. Poison number 2, the leadership team doesn't know how to use the data to enable their team to be successful. Poison number 3, there's a culture where poor performance is tolerated. Those are the 3 poisons. And by the way, that third one is often an outcome of the first 2. And if you have a sales culture where you're not holding your reps accountable to hitting the metrics they need to hit in order to hit their number, then you don't have a well-functioning sales org. But what happens is you feel weird as a founder or sales leader because you're not sure, is it the rep's fault? Is it our company's fault? Is something weird in the market? Is our messaging not resonating? It's hard to point the finger at them because you're not quite sure if that's the case. I get it. That's why I want so much structure around the metrics. Okay. Next here, we have an activity tracker. I'm a really, really big fan of tracking all SDR activity. That's what this is here. This is an SDR tracking sheet for SDRs. If you have that, I want to see how many calls they're making, how many people they're talking to. I even sometimes, not in this tracking sheet, but I have a whole separate tracking sheet where I make people do 2-week sprints where they literally track how far through a conversation they get to help us identify bottlenecks. You got to use data, and this is a great place to do it. And I like spreadsheets because they manually type it in. It makes it real for them. So I actually do, even with the CRM tracking it, I ask them to go to the CRM at the end of the day and fill out the spreadsheet. Okay, and then quota. I give quota calculators that show at different performance milestones how much money are they going to be making. And then here are just some details around performance management that you could include, which is initial setup, the 30, 60, 90-day plan, quarterly check-ins, quarterly close loss reviews, PIPs, biannual review, culture setting guide, and rep superpowers, all little things that you can include here to really give the sales reps clarity around how you manage performance. All right. So that's the template here. I'm going to grab the template. I'm also going to grab a water. I have a quick video for you to watch, and then we're going to move into Q&A. So give me 1 second here.
A repeatable sales process while running your company is the hardest way to scale. You're a founder. Your strength is your product and vision, not comp plan, sales scripts, and endless coaching. Take it from somebody who's built scalable systems for hundreds of B2B companies. When founders try to do it all themselves, they end up with this patchwork of mediocre tactics instead of a sales engine that actually grows. So in this short video, I'm going to show you the exact framework we use to install a repeatable sales process for founders. It's a system that combines decades of go-to-market experience with our proprietary AI, allowing you to scale predictably and finally get back to being the visionary CEO your company actually needs. If we haven't met yet, hello, I'm Kyle Van Vouris. I'm the CEO of Vouris. And if you're a founder trying to build a repeatable sales process without decades of sales experience, watch and listen carefully, because what I'm about to show you will stop you from wasting years of trial and error and instead give you a proven sales process designed by experts and fine-tuned in real time by our proprietary AI. In fact, we've used this process to help over 80 B2B SaaS and service companies add more than 133 million in revenue by bringing the sales expertise they didn't have and compressing years of trial and error into a predictable growth framework. Like Robert Ewan, founder of Monograph, who we've helped build their first sales team, raise 2 rounds of capital, and 3x their revenue all in 11 months. Or Matt Prados, founder of Review Wave, who we helped grow, optimize, and scale their sales team to get back on track with 200% yearly growth goals. And the best part is, you get this consistent growth without wasting years on trial and error, piecing together random tactics, or trying to play sales expert yourself. Instead, you get a repeatable sales process built on decades of go-to-market expertise and continuously optimized by our proprietary AI, so you scale faster and smarter. Here's the thing. Most founders try to solve this problem in one of 2 ways. They either try to figure it out themselves, burning years on trial and error, or they hire a sales rep and hope that they magically build the process for them. Neither works. Without real sales expertise, doing it yourself takes years you don't have. And without a proven system, that new hire is set up to fail from day one. Our approach is very different. We design your team and sales process together, create the playbooks they need, coach them in real time, and use our proprietary AI to analyze every sales call and metric. Then we work with you to turn those insights into improvements, so the system keeps getting stronger. That's why we don't just hand you a plan and hope that it works. We partner with you directly, bringing our full team, decades of experience, and proprietary AI to install a sales system that grows stronger every week. What this really means is that when you work with us, you're no longer guessing. You gain a dedicated go-to-market team who builds the systems with you and makes sure it actually works. In fact, I guarantee it. We'll come in and build a completely tailored sales roadmap that details exactly what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, and we implement it into your business. This is a detailed step-by-step plan that is completely laid out for you by seasoned go-to-market executives with decades worth of experience under our belts. And if you're not 1000% convinced that this document is the holy grail of your growth goals, we'll tear up the agreement and part ways as friends. Why would we do that? Simple. We only work with people that we could help. Like David Goz from Bureau of Small Projects, who had a 266% revenue increase in 10 months by focusing on how deals were being managed and using that data to optimize the sales process. Or Chris Greco from Storewise, who we helped lock in the best quarter in company history while working together. So if you're hearing this and thinking, these guys have the sales experience I'm missing, they've done this for other founders just like me, and they actually guarantee I'll get a clear, repeatable system, then the next step is simple. Beneath this video is a button to schedule a free Accelerate call. It's where we'll sit down, take a look at your business, results, systems, team, and everything in between. Next, we'll explore if and how we can help accelerate your sales and what that looks like. So click the button and you'll get a couple of quick questions to make sure we're in the right place. And on step number 2, you'll be directed to a calendar to schedule a time that works.
All righty. Let's dive into Q&A. I saw a couple of questions come through. I also want to share the template here. So let me get that out of the way. I did not forget. You see? Very good. Here is the template. And one more thing here too. If well, here, let me pull this up first. Okay, cool. All right, let's jump into to some questions. I saw one come up pretty early. Okay, yeah, right here. Oh wait. Okay, what size of org would you recommend this sales playbook for? Small, middle, whatever, big. So I think you need a sales playbook fairly early. one thing I will say is, and I happen to know, Lucas, because you mentioned in the chat at one point that you're just building out the team for the first time. Put some processes in place that you want them following. You're not going to know if they're right because you don't have sales reps today. But what you're doing to get sales today, like outline that process, and you're hiring somebody to follow that process or a piece of that process. So you can do a much smaller version of this, but give a prescription to the person you hire. Here's what I'd like you to do. So I think you said you're hiring an SDR. I would like you to make 100 cold calls a day. I'd like you to use this script, and I would like you to track your performance every single day. And we're going to be meeting regularly and talking about how we might be able to change the script or the process to improve the performance. And then you're going to start refining, actually building out a process that you're more confident in. And then you start really getting into how your sales playbook looks. So early on, you should still have a sales playbook, make it simple, make it very tactical. And then as you mature, you can build out the playbook even more as you have a clearer understanding of what your process is. But all of the other stuff about the company, all that's stuff that you should have, right? Okay, cool. Another thing too, if you feel like this has been a good use of your time or not, here's a survey for you. If you could please do the survey, it's very helpful. I do a live class every 2 weeks. I'm constantly coming out with new topics. This survey that I just shared lets me know what you thought of this topic, as well as some other, like, give me ideas of what topics I can do in the future. So it'd be really helpful to me. At the bare minimum, if you could take some time to fill out that survey, that'd be awesome. Okay, scrolling through for more questions. Will I send it? Yes. Okay, what tools you use for intent? I don't know if this is a controversial opinion. It was at one point, but now I think more people are tuned into this. I don't find intent data all that useful. I've done a lot of testing with intent data. I haven't found it very useful. I think some industries it seems to work a little better than others. I generally do not care much about intent data. I don't find it very reliable. That being said, there's two real sources of intent data. One is Bombora. So almost all of the tools that you see who do intent data, they're getting it from Bombora, that company. I think you can even get intent data from them directly too. I think they have their own platform. And then Zoom Info, who used to use Bombora, but then built out their own way of doing intent. Those are kind of the two big ones. Use them if you want. Test it. I haven't found it all that valuable. Okay. Let's see, any other questions? I'm not seeing any other questions. For those that, like in the video mentioned, are looking for support in your sales organization, I'll put the schedule link right back there for you. If you would like to schedule some time and chat, you'll be chatting with me directly, by the way. I'll ask you a couple of questions about your sales org or your plans to building your sales org or your sales process. And I'll give you some things that I would do if I were in your shoes. So it'll be more of an actionable call. We don't work with very many clients. So I'll be very transparent with you if I feel like we'd be a good fit or not. All righty. I'm not seeing any questions here. So as I wind down, I'll say this. I really appreciate you taking the time. I love doing these classes. I hold myself to a high standard with these classes. That's why I do these surveys, try to figure out what topics people want to hear. If you go to vouris.com/events, you'll see some of the topics that we have coming up. I'm really excited about. And then finally here, there's a lot you can do on a Thursday. You spent it with me. I appreciate that. I hope that this was a good use of your time. Camilla says, is Confluence good for sales playbook? Yeah, you can use any tool like that. By the way, some people have their sales playbook in Notion. Some people like it in a slide deck like I just gave. All these tools are kind of the same. I don't find the tools all that useful. I think it is valuable to have some way to maintain versions and stuff. That's pretty useful, but I don't know, a slide deck is fine. As you start maturing as an organization, you're going to need somebody whose job is to really manage the sales playbook and make sure it stays up to date. It's typically a manager or your VP of sales. You want to treat the sales playbook as a source of truth that collects all of the knowledge across everybody. And as you track it, I'll go on a little rant here, but as you track the sales process and you start understanding, these are some areas that are broken, you go and you implement fixes. You either create a different script, you tweak the process in a certain way. As you do that, you then take that and you put it in the sales playbook as one of the processes that the reps can use. This is how I would be thinking about it in your shoes is, hey, how can I make this more of a living document that also has materials that reps are going to need long-term? Because if you have nothing that the reps need in the sales playbook, it's only an onboarding document, which might be all you want it for. But if you want it to have more impact than that, then you need to be updating and keeping it consistent with what the sales process that's working today is. It also is a place for you to understand what your sales process looks like and why is it effective. So one of the things I say a lot, if you don't know why you're losing, it'll be permanent. If you don't know why you're winning, it'll be temporary. So I really want to understand the why behind us winning and us losing, documenting that and having a really clear structure of our sales process. So I can do what I just said in the beginning. Hire the average salesperson and feel confident they're going to hit their number, and then do whatever I can to try not to hire average salespeople and hire spectacular ones. All right. Beautiful. Thank you for the question. Thank you. I appreciate you all. Anything you need from me, never hesitate to reach out. And in 2 weeks, we'll be talking about AI prompts. That's going to be even beyond just sales. It's going to be really useful for you if you're doing anything with AI, whether it be marketing, sales, internal operations. You're going to get a ton from that. So feel free to register for that if that's up your alley. If not, you'll see emails from me about it. Thanks again. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Bye.